Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. It is Saturday, the 27th of July, 2024, as we're working our way through summer, school starting back up out here in Phoenix. And we have a miserable month of August ahead, hottest and most humid, and we'll get through it. And then we can work our way back towards fall and get out of this crazy heat, I hope. In the meantime, still working over there at Studio C, trying to get it ready for production. And the clock is ticking. Also, a special shout out and thank you to our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, as he is in the chat room known. Thank you so much, my friend, for your continued support and generosity. Also, a shout out to our friend Frankie B in New York and Oystein in Norway for being such generous contributors. We also have an update message from our friend Mitch joining us from Australia. Let's see what he's got for us. Hey, Uncle Carey and everybody in chat. It's your Uncle Mitch here at the Sydney. Take a look at that. The Sydney Opera House here in Sydney, Australia. Just took a tour of the place. It's magnificent. And yeah, continuing on of my adventure here in Sydney, Australia. Bye. Hey, Uncle Carey and everyone in chat. It's your Uncle Mitch. There's the bridge that I'm going to walk on top of the bridge here. Not tomorrow. I'm going to take a jet boat ride around Sydney Harbor, but I'm going to do that on Monday and a helicopter ride around the harbor. So hope you guys are all doing well. This is your Uncle Mitch from Sydney, Australia. Bye.
Hello, Uncle Carey and everyone in chat. It's your Uncle Mitch at the top of the Sydney Harbor Bridge. Woohoo! Beautiful. Thank you. You're beautiful. Mark, Auckland Bridge, bungee jump, take 2. Mark. Action! Okay, so first we'll get our photo straight up there. And then video. Yes, now we're ready. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, action! Woo! Much better footage. Bounce number 2, no. Woo! Stay in frame, baby. Yeah. Yeah, ooh, at the top. No, I can't reach it. Oh, haul me up. Like a fish. That's all right. Ooh, oh my God, don't snap. Thank you. Ooh, you want to see the outline? It's upside down. All right, there we go. Ooh. All right, here we go.
And you can lift your feet up. Stand up again. And one more time, that camera over there on the bubble. Right in front of you.
Right there. All right.
Well done again.
Yeah. Take 2. Cut.
That looks like he's having a great time. And it hasn't died after all these life-defying tricks he seems to enjoy doing. But I enjoy living vicariously through him, so I don't have to sit on a plane for 16 hours. Hopefully we'll have him back in the new Studio C here when he returns, and hopefully we'll be all set up by then. Let's see here. Where is my... I see. All right. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. I'm trying to get my audio adjusted. I think that's about where it was. Any event. Today's video, we're looking at the TP-Link Archer GE800, and I want to tell you something about today's video. Without the benefit of our memberships, from the members, I should say, without the benefit of their memberships, this video could not be made. So for all the viewers watching it for free and having any issue or complaint about anything regarding the video or the ability to chat, there would not be a video for you to watch. On the other hand, because of the generosity of our members, we do not have to rely on corporate sponsorships, nor have we ever. So we can continue to maintain the quality of videos that we want to do here, independent of any oversight telling us what we're allowed to say or not allowed to say. So if you're wondering, where does the membership money go? This is a $500 router, which after sales tax is about $550. We just bought it. We would not have afforded it if not for the memberships, and therefore this video would never have been made. I just want to make that very clear. We have to find a balance because YouTube revenues are no longer paying people to watch our videos. We have to pay to get people to watch our videos. YouTube has changed the monetization. Effectively, they still pay a little tiny bit, but it's insignificant. What YouTube's trying to do is get the creators to start selling with YouTube partner commercial companies like Nordstrom. And if you make a sale, you get a bigger commission. And so YouTube wants the creators to become the advertisers. And they're incentivizing for the creators to generate their own revenue. Even the memberships, YouTube takes 30% of that income. So YouTube has mostly given up on traditional advertising. The amount advertisers pay is a fraction of what they used to. And as a result, the amount YouTube pays from the advertising is a fraction of what it used to be. As a result, many YouTube channels are just closing up or they're converting into commercials or shopping channels. We're resisting that. And you guys who are members, I shouldn't say guys, you folks around the world who are members that support us, continue to fight be the resistance from YouTube trying to adapt us all into machines that make money for YouTube. It used to be having viewers would generate revenue from watching the ads. It is no longer the case. I am effectively paying for people to watch my videos. So for anybody who watches for free, we're glad to have you. But if you have any criticisms or complaints, you got to pay me. I'm not taking criticisms and complaints for free. But again, thank you to all the members who make this possible. Without them, yeah, it would be a very different channel. So I'll say hello to everybody in the chat joining us. Chatting with me live is a benefit of members only. And this helps ensure that people are incentivized to support the channel and that we have people in the chat for the right reason. We need to open the chat only to the public for about 4 minutes for the poison to roll in. And so that's why we have shut it off. And I'm sorry if you're a part of the group that is part of the free viewers who used to be able to chat, but the group that you belong to has ruined that for you. So between what YouTube has done to devalue your view for content creators, or just in general, honestly, and what your fellow viewers have done to restrict down the live chat is a result of the group you choose to be in. If you choose to be a member, that changes. But that's only something you can do. I can't help you with that. And we appreciate each and every one of our members. And we do members-only videos on Mondays that are never made public. We've got a computer build. We started on Monday. It's a members-only computer build. And then we're going to finish it up this Monday, 1 o'clock. The public will never see that video. So if you want more of this content and you enjoy it, please support it. It is profoundly expensive and time consuming. So I hope that if you want to continue to enjoy it, if you can give back something, that'll keep us moving forward. And if you can't, well, don't be surprised if one day it slowly fades out, because I don't want to turn this into a shopping channel. Now, that being said, let's do some shopping. So the Archer GE800, let's start with today's review. Again, this is all fully financed by our members. Without them, we don't have this. We don't have this video. We don't have this review, nor would we ever. Okay, so let's make sure I'm clear on that. That's to show my appreciation in the hopes that the free viewers who enjoy the content will also appreciate the members as well. All right, I might be dreaming, thinking people will show appreciation, but I know the members do. And so let's keep moving forward. Now with the product page, let's take a look at how TP-Link is advertising this router. So let me switch over to that. And let's learn a little bit about what we're reviewing today. This is, as I mentioned, the Archer GE800. This is a BE19000 Tri-Band. In other words, it's got 3 bands, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. It is a Wi-Fi 7, and they promote it as a gaming router. They say it's got unprecedented 19 gigabit per second Tri-Band Wi-Fi 7. It delivers up to 11,520 megabits per second on the 6 gigahertz channel, 5,760 megabits per second on the 5 gigahertz channel, and 1,376 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz channel. So you add all those numbers up and you get a total, which I guess is 19,000. Two 10 gigabit ports for future-proof connectivity to your internet connection. Those are going to be used for your wide area network or your local area network. There are four 2.5 gig ports for your LAN, and it's got exclusive acceleration for games, dedicated game panel. It's got a game style design, as we can see from the photos here. It's a very unusual looking router. TP-Link Home Shield provides antivirus protection through the router, but it's up to you if you want to use that or not. And then Easy Mesh is their router's ability to work with other routers that support Easy Mesh if you want to put multiple routers throughout a large building to get full coverage everywhere you might need it. So they go through some details here, promotional stuff about what you would expect a company to do to boast and hype up their product. And they say it's 4.8 times faster than 4 times lower latency than Wi-Fi 6 or 6E routers, 2 times the network capacity. With 320 megahertz bandwidth, Wi-Fi 7 provides up to 2 times greater capacity than Wi-Fi 6 or 6E. These are the numbers we talked about on the different channels and what they're capable of with regards to performance. A little bit about the hardware and the connectivity in the back. As you can see, the two 10 gig ports left and right here. Oh, it looks like I see 3. What is this? Looks like a oh, that's an SFP connection. Okay, I gotcha. All right, that's a 10 gig SFP. Yeah, one of these days I'll have a network cable, a network that requires an SFP. I don't know that I've ever seen one in real life or been able to actually test it. It's all pretty expensive stuff, but it's future-proofed. So as this technology becomes cheaper, you don't have to replace the router again. There's a look at some of the RGB lighting on the side of the router. And yeah, definitely for somebody who is very demanding and wants the router to be something to look at. Most people want the router out of sight. They consider it ugly. Some of the fanciest, most expensive homes I've ever been to hide the router in a metal box between the walls or inside of the wall of the closet, which is the worst possible place for your Wi-Fi antennas to be. And it's ironic that the people that have the most expensive homes often have the worst Wi-Fi because they find it unsightly. So that being said, that's what the page looks like. Now over at Amazon, this is where we bought it. You'll see it's $599, 600 bucks. It was on sale for $100 off. And then with sales tax, it was around $550. Is it worth it? Well, this is really designed for a very niche customer at this point. Somebody that would have a higher internet bandwidth than most, as well as somebody that is demanding the best at all times and has the kind of finances to afford it. In other words, nobody would just have an old 7-year-old computer and a bare minimum internet connection and then be expected to drop $600 on a router. Right? So the kind of person that's going to buy this is somebody who's maybe transferring large files within their building, somebody who's got a large building, or somebody that has a very busy household where everybody needs bandwidth all the time. And they have a very large demand on the internet, whether themselves or through others they live with, that also wants to make a statement with regards to how it looks, to use it not only as a functional piece of electronics, but also to make it as a functional piece of art. So that being said, I don't know if it's any good or not, but I can tell you we've been using the original TP-Link Wi-Fi 7 router, which was one of the first to hit the market, which I have right here. So in theory, these two routers should be nearly identical in performance without the game optimization, which does me personally no good. This doesn't have the RGB, but it does have a light up screen with messages you can display. And instead of looking at little tiny lights, when I would lose the internet connection here, I'd get a big exclamation point right down the middle. You can't miss it. So I knew not to diagnose any of my computers, that the problem was this was, you know, the communication with the modem went away. And you'll see a big exclamation. You cannot miss it. Versus these little teeny tiny lights. I thought initially I was having a problem with this router because we were experiencing internet dropouts. However, that turned out to be the cable modem and not the fault of this router. We've had this router a year and a half and we've been using it every day. I thought maybe it was overheating because it does get warm. But so far as I can tell, it's never had a problem. And my wireless speeds from my laptop to my NAS are about the same as a wired 1 gig internet connection, which blows my mind. Now, let's talk about the problem with router reviews. The numbers that are advertised on this router are exactly what this router will deliver. That's it. Best case scenario, that is the best it can possibly do. All of these numbers and all this advertisement is saying under ideal conditions with modern equivalent equipment that are hooked up to this with nothing bogging it down, if everything you're doing is modern and the latest, latest and greatest, higher at top shelf, and you are operating in an environment where you are not too far away, and your environment is made of materials that don't block the signal, and you don't live in an environment where there's a lot of other wireless traffic that's going to compete with this, like in an apartment building where everybody's got wireless routers. And then how many devices you're connecting to it and what those devices are. All of this means no router review is beneficial to you, period. No one can tell you how that router is going to perform because no matter where you live, it's nowhere like anybody else's place. You will have a unique environment that is uniquely yours and does not align with anybody else ever. There's billions of possibilities of variables involved in this. So what we can tell you is that under the best case scenario, these numbers from every manufacturer on every wireless router ever made are the best you can expect under the best possible circumstances. So as far as the review goes, it's not going to do better than this. And how it performs for me will not be how it performs for you, because you'll be hooking up different items to it. You'll be in a different environment with different network traffic or, different atmosphere, with a building made of different materials trying to go different distances. There's no way for anybody to tell you how that router is going to perform for you except you. You have to buy it, and you have to figure out where to place it for optimum reception. And then you can expect the best that router can do for you in that environment using the equipment you're hooking up to it, the computers, the laptops, your Internet of Things, all that stuff, weighing it down. And the distances you need it to go. And how many walls it has to go through, or how many floors. You might be in a three-floor house, right? You could have a basement, first floor, second floor. Maybe you even want the reception in the attic. Will it do it? It might. There's too many variables are possible to predict how any wireless router will work for you specifically. Only you can understand that by trying it. Nobody can possibly have a clue how that's going to work for you. Thereby, if anybody says, hey, this router's performance is great, that's because the environment that they tested it with, the distance they were going, and the equipment they hooked up to it gave them those results very specifically. Change any of the variables, you will not get the same result. That's true of all wireless router reviews. So what's the point? What's the point of doing the router or these? If we already know, based on what the manufacturer tells us, this is the best it can do, and you're wondering, I wonder if it'll work well for me. Nobody can answer that. Nobody, except you. You'll have to buy one and try it. So anytime you watch any wireless router review, there's very little that's going to benefit you if you have anxiety over whether or not it's going to work. All the reviewer is going to do is tell you exactly what the manufacturer tells you, show you the same ports, turn it on, and show you the same interface that's in the downloadable manual that you can look at yourself. That's it. So there's a part of me that says, what's the point of this? On the other hand, some people have no intention of ever buying this router. Just like watching a review of a Ferrari. Most people will never buy a Ferrari. Most people will never sit in a Ferrari. And yet views of Ferrari reviews go through the roof. So in the benefit of entertainment and to keep you up to date on the latest technology, I figure a hands-on video can give you an idea of the scale, the size, and how it compares to other routers, as well as my own personal thoughts with regards to my needs, my individual needs in my environment with these walls, the distances I need to go, whether or not I find the RGB attractive or annoying. These are all my own personal, individual, unique observations or values that in no way, shape, or form are intended to align with yours because I don't know you. Even if I did, I'd have to bring it over to your house to see how it worked. All right, I just really need to emphasize that. Let's say hello and thank you to all the members joining us in the chat. I see Daryl Loftus joining us. There's Matthew Burton with a $10 super chat. Says, good afternoon, Carey and chat. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Thank you, Matthew. Marlena, of course, joins us in the chat. And there's David Graham and 3D Everything and our friend Mark Gaines. There's Luke Greeny and John Paul Bacon. Marco Melstrom joins us from Italy. Jason H88 and John Lewis saying hello. I think John Lewis joins us from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. There's live Windows training with Doug Betts. Hey, Doug Betts. He says, hey, Carey, I just redirected from my show to your show. Well, thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Oystein joining us from Norway says hello. There's also Elijah 52 Dickens. Trevor Dune says, he doesn't say anything. He's become a supporter, right? Thank you, Trevor. Oh, it's time for me to get the glasses, I think. Remember, it looks like that's the name. Says, hello, welcome in. Harry Thor with a $10 Canadian contribution. Right on. Thank you for that super chat, Harry Thor. Thomas MacT saying hello. Dan Nilsson says hello. Justin Miller says hello. Luke Greenia wants me to check my phone before we dive into this, so we'll check that real quick. I suspect Luke has sent us something in PayPal. Indeed, he has. $25 via PayPal from our friend Luke Greenia. Right on. All right, so let's unbox this and see what it looks like. Now, I have done absolutely no rehearsal on this. There's no script. Everything you see is real. It's genuine. This is, again, it's not a commercial. It's not a shopping channel. This is not a sponsorship. This is member-paid content that viewers get to watch for free. That's all we're doing. We're just evaluating. As a working computer technician, I'd like to know what's on the market to offer different customers solutions for their different requirements. So this might offer something that one of my customers could maybe benefit from. I don't know yet. This has a 2-year warranty. Let's see if I can bring that up. Ugh. We have a 2-year warranty on this. And yeah, pretty nice box. We have a box here of what I would guess will be the power cable, an Ethernet cable. Yeah, and there's the Ethernet cable. There's a what looks like a SIM removal tool for a phone. I guess for resetting the router. We have a power brick, just like we see with laptops and mini PCs in routers. And we have a power cable, and this type of power cable appears to be a Mickey Mouse cloverleaf power cable. So we can use the one we already have. We can use pretty much everything else we already have. So this can all go in the box. All I need is the power adapter. So we'll close that out, close that out. Keep that all together. And then we have the router itself. So this will give you an idea of scale. True unboxing experience here, folks. Live, unedited, real time. No script, no rehearsal. All right, here's the router. The ports as pictured. And we'll set that right here for comparison. Next to our original TP-Link Wi-Fi 7 router from about 1.5 years ago. The rest of this, although heavy, I believe is just empty. And we've got a little sticker here with the default SSID and password settings, which of course I don't leave to default, but a lot of people, that's over their heads and they don't know how to do it, and they just leave it. And you know what I was thinking? I was thinking if we got rid of this, let's just put this somewhere, and we had a mini PC like the Ace Magic M2A, that'd be one heck of a PC setup, wouldn't it? So this would be your main computer, and then you could wire or wirelessly connect it to this one, and then you can just have battles in space. Oh no! Sorry. Sorry, I just became 12 years old again. 8 years old. Anyway. They seem like they would go together well, don't they? Trevor says his last name is pronounced as Dunn, not Dune. Right on. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate that. I wasn't quite sure. All right, now, let's get that put away. Let's hook this bad boy up, see what it looks like. So we've got a standard barrel... Hold on, let me walk up here. Barrel style power connector, right? That's why you got to label these things, because if you plug this into the wrong thing, you could smoke it. Smoke it being the thing you just plugged into. But thankfully, TP-Link does put their name on the back of it, so I don't need to label it. And you can see your voltages there, 75 watts, not a big deal. And yeah, let's get it plugged in. Let's see, we will plug in to our regular, we'll plug the router into a router is what we're going to do. And then we'll configure it using the mini PC we reviewed 2 days ago, the Codlix. So we'll just plug that in back here so we have a means to take a look and configure it. And then I need a cloverleaf power adapter, which I have. Sometimes called a Mickey Mouse power adapter because it has the profile of Mickey Mouse. And with that, we should be able to turn this guy. Oh, there's tape over this. Let's get the tape off. Okay, there's probably a power button back here. Right here is the power button. We'll push that in. And we can see the RGB starting to light up. John Lewis indeed is enjoying watching us from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. I'm not sure, is it Bahia? Thank you for confirming that, John. I'm surprised I remember this stuff. It's great to see you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. John Paul Bacon mentions if anyone here has an ASUS motherboard, you may want to check for a BIOS update. He did an update check for his ASUS ProArt X670E Creator Wi-Fi, and a new BIOS was just released just last week. So yeah, if you have an Intel socket 1700 base motherboard, yeah, great tip. Look for updates regardless of the manufacturer. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I guess I need to turn this on. Grab a keyboard and a mouse. Let's see if we go to our HDMI input. Bear with me here for just a second. That should get us there. That's tough being my own director and producer, I tell you. The technical challenges of what's going on to put this production together from numerous video inputs and sources is that's a job all by itself. Maybe when we get into Studio C, we could put Mara to work as the director. All right, so with the desktop up, no, you know what? I think I'm changing my mind on this. I think what I want to do here is shut this computer down. Let's just shut this down. Maybe. It seems like something's still loading. If you're ever in a situation where you find your start button isn't responding, and there have been some Windows 11 updates that have had this symptom, and I don't know if this is a new symptom or something I'm just being impatient about, but you can hit Control-Alt-Delete and go to the Task Manager, or actually just right down here on the right corner. Just click there, and then you can shut it down that way. So just a little tip from your Uncle Carey on these sometimes intermittent minor Windows annoyances. It usually occurs after an update if something like that happens, or just a restart's all that's needed. But what I thought was, why am I using this computer when I have the spaceship? Let's hook up the spaceship instead so we can actually see these things side by side, because I think they complement each other quite well. So let's get this out of the way. I'll just set it over here, and then we'll grab that giant power brick over here for the Starship computer. This is a proper gaming computer, and of course it's got a massive power brick. It's darn near the size of the router. But that goes to the Starship computer, which, you know, has a very powerful graphics processor and graphics card, et cetera, so it draws more power. So let's get that plugged in right quick. What the heck? Just really seems like two peas in a pod here, even though they're two unrelated companies. Now, with regards to this Ace Magic, we did a review on this, the M2A. You can go back and watch that if you've missed it, if it looks intriguing. In the meantime, let's go ahead and plug in our keyboard and mouse, our power brick, our video to the capture card, and we need an Ethernet connect, or I could connect to the Wi-Fi on this, but we'll just wire it to keep it simple. And then I just need to give it power here. All right, let's try this one more time. Should be a power button up here. There we go. All right. Let's go over to our HDMI input, which is right there, which, yeah, that booted up. And then let me go full screen over here. Now, in theory, this should be self-configured other than setting it up with a password. So there's a few ways that you can get access to your router. A lot of times manufacturers, they want you to use a phone app. And that's fine if you want to do it that way, but you don't have to. One of the ways that I cheat is I just go to a command prompt and I simply type in ipconfig. And what that's going to tell you is your gateway address. Your gateway is your router. So 192.168. Is that a 0.1? Is that what I'm saying? Yeah, 192.168.0.1. If we type that into the browser, if we type our gateway address into our browser, that should take you to the login page of your router. And this is how we used to do it back in the day. And it's still doable this way. 192.168.0.1 should take us to the router login page, and it has. So at this point, because we've never used this before, we need to set up a password. So I'm going to put a password in here. Oh, it's going to tell me it doesn't like it. Let me try again. Let's do that. I couldn't tell if it's, yeah, I guess it's, let's just do it that way. Time zone. So this is your first time setup. And it may not, your router may not work out of the box until you do this. It might not. It kind of depends on your configuration. Let's go next. And then this shows us which port we're plugged into right now. That's correct. We are in this port here. So it just auto senses that. We're going to use a dynamic IP, meaning it can be, since we've plugged this into another router here, that router will assign an IP address to it. We can change this around if we want, but all the default settings on the auto sensing are all correct for us. So we can mostly just go next, 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 next. Connection test. So right now it's running a connection test, and we'll let that finish so we can determine what kind of connection we have. And with regards to our bandwidth, our upload and download, it needs to know these speeds and pings in order to efficiently address game mode to optimize what we have. Because what we have will be different from one another. This is customized based on what you have. It is not a one size fits all. It has to test what you have. And if you change what you have or you move, then you'll want to run this test again and have it auto optimize. Otherwise, it won't be running optimally. So we'll turn on auto update. And yeah, that's fine. You can check for updates. Early morning. And then we're all set up here. So we'll hit next. We found another router. That's correct. I do have this plugged into another router. Next. This router is independent of my modem. Yes. This router is connected with my modem. I recommend you remove your old router. That's true. But for today's purposes and demonstrations, we don't have to worry about that. They give you a cute little QR code that you can save the picture and then just scan the picture with your phone or your tablet to get on your Wi-Fi without entering all of the SSID and password information. So for this, we're just going to skip the TP-Link ID. It's an optional thing you can set up for access outside of the house. And they're going to keep bugging me, so I'm going to say, don't remind me again. Now, this is what your interface looks like, and the first thing we want to do is check for updates. I'm going to immediately jump to advanced. I'm going to go to, usually it's under administration. I'm just looking blindly here for it. Under advanced, it's usually under administration. There's the easy mesh. Oh, maybe under system. Okay, then system, and then another submenu opens. It says firmware update. And then it shows the firmware version we have, 112, and the latest is 113. So let's go ahead and update that. You always want to make sure your router's up to date. If you have never done this to your router at home, I strongly recommend, unless your router is being rented from your internet service provider, if your router / modem is provided by your internet service provider, they update it automatically. If you have your own router that you have purchased, then I strongly recommend you find the IP address using the command prompt I just showed you. Put that number into your browser. That should take you to a login page. You should have the login information. If you don't, you might want to reset the router using a small paper clip and a hole in the back, knowing it will take everything offline when you do this, and reset up the router again from brand new. Set your Wi-Fi back up, your SSID, you could put it all back to the same as it was, so make sure you know what it was, then you don't have to reconfigure all your devices. And then write down your login so that the next time you want to log into it, you'll have it. Otherwise, you'll go to the advanced section, administration, or system section, and then check for a firmware update. If there is no auto check, take note of your make and model of router, Google it with the word firmware, and then compare the latest from the manufacturer directly to the version you have that'll be displayed on your screen. And then you can see if there's a newer version or not. If so, you'll download it manually and then click the manual update button and point it to the file you downloaded. And then you'll go through the same process. Auto update takes care of all of this, but you still have to be signed into the router. This is a security risk to let anybody in that router and make these kind of changes. Again, you can change routers. You can upgrade your router from one manufacturer to another, from one model to another, as long as you put the same SSID in with the same password on your Wi-Fi. All of your devices won't know that you changed the router. So if your devices are not reconnecting to your new router, reboot the device and double check the spelling of your SSID. Upper and lowercase do matter on both the SSID and password. If you get one little thing wrong, it will not work. But if you put it back exactly, all of your wireless devices, from security cameras and doorbells to phones and televisions, they all reconnect. They're not reconnecting to a make or model of a router. They're not saying, hey, are you the ASUS router? Are you the TP? That's not how it works. They are connecting to a specific SSID broadcast name with a specific password. It doesn't care who's providing that. If it's provided, it will connect, regardless of what is providing it. That's how Wi-Fi has always worked. It's never worked differently. Despite that, I've had people say, Carey, you're wrong. I changed out my router and nothing reconnected. That's because they did not set it up exactly right. They made a mistake. You know how I know? I've been doing this for a living for a long time. And I've changed the router out myself here in Studio B 4 times. And I never, ever have to reconnect anything on Wi-Fi as long as I put the SSID and password on the new router exactly, letter for letter, upper or lowercase, perfectly exactly the way it was. The equipment that connects to it just reconnects to it. Can I say that a 4th time? Oh, great. Did I already forget my password? I think I did. Now, you will see sometimes at the top of the router a version number. Other times you do have to go into the advanced section. And many times in the advanced section, it will show you this information under an administration tab or system tab. And here we'll go under firmware update and we can clearly see what version we have. And we can check, because sometimes there may be a new version to the new version or an update to your update. It doesn't happen too often with routers. And then we can double check that by just going to TP-Link and making sure that is the latest version. So we know we have a BE19000, what did we say? This is a GE800. So if we go and type in TP-Link GE800 firmware. Right here, it takes us to tplink.com. Pay attention to the results of where they're directing you on your search. Download for Archer GE800, and then we're going to go over to firmware, and then we'll see what the latest version is. So it shows 116, and the build ends in, I'm not going to read all that, but it looks like a date, May 28th of 2024. And if we go back and look here, yeah, May 28th of 2024. So we have exactly the latest. I have seen discrepancies in this, right? And that's just me being me, but most people just doing the update is still getting you more modernized and protected than you were prior, regardless. So Home Shield is it's an internet security. It's a way for them to add on things like additional security. Again, it's not going to protect you from yourself. You can have the best alarm system in the world, but if you invite a scammer into your home because you believe they're from the water company or whatever, it doesn't do your alarm system, and it doesn't give you any benefit to your alarm if you're bypassing it. Well, much the same way PC security, right? If you already have antivirus and you're already taking care of that, if you still make a boneheaded move and click on something you shouldn't click on, there's a great chance this isn't going to prevent you from happening. However, if you're trying to go to a website and you don't have any proper filtering for your browser, then this may kick in and not allow you to go to the site. This is our wireless information here, and we can configure and adjust all of that information. Our internet configuration is here and can be changed. This is the gaming center, all right? And so the RGB effects have multiple options here. In fact, let's switch back over to camera 1 and let's go through these options. Let's see here, camera 1, where did it go? We'll keep the lights out, and that way you can see. Let me put camera 1 in a corner. Maybe we can do both. All the way over here. Okay, so let's go to this first one right here. Oh, well, that really matches the Starship now. That's hilarious. Let's go back over here. Let's go to this one. Am I on the wrong thing? Hold on. I'm not showing the right. We want to be over there. You just move it up and out of the way. We can put them both on the screen. Okay. So it's flashing. Once again, we'll go to the previous one just in case. There's the previous setting. Then we'll go to this setting over here. And then over to this one. This one. Okay, now it's matching the Starship. Fading and cycling through. Is it just blue or is it changing on? Maybe it's still not matching. Hold on. Might be jumping the gun on that. Well, that's interesting. Go to the next one. Ooh. Little matrixy. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Now, of course, this is a color palette that we can choose from to change the RGB colors. Just to be clear, if you're wondering what that's for, this will be rainbow, or sorry, this will be all the colors. If you wanted a different shade of what's here, you can scroll this up get whatever shade of main, so that this is your main color, this scrolling up and down. And if we go to, let's say, and within this box are shades of that blue, going all the way dark to a black and all the way light to a white. We could go somewhere like right in here, it's a bit darker. Or again, if we bring this down, go to, let's see, go to a bright red. Come on. We'll go to a bright red. Where was I? Over here. Yeah, let's take this to a bright red. This corner. Far up in the corners I can get. Now notice when I change it, it's this one right here on the end that I'm selecting. So I want to go up and to the right, select that, be able to apply that somehow. Oh, I think it just applied automatically. Yeah, it's changing color as I click on each of these. Pink. And then it's an interesting pattern. And of course, you just turn it off entirely if you don't want that ridiculous nonsense that you paid an extra money, you know, an extra X amount of dollars for to get that feature. Let's turn it off. So yeah, you can see here, you can choose two colors, right? So we can go complete opposite extremes here. If we select this purple, and then we'll select something like red. Now, what does that do? There's the purple. There's the red. Cool. So that's how that one works. Now, what this has to do with your internet connection, gaming, security, or performance, I have no idea. But, you know, people are going to buy what people are going to buy. This is definitely something that's meant to be seen, not shoved under a staircase or something, you know, where a lot of people will often try and hide the router. All right, so that's how that works. And yeah, let's go back to, let's go bring the lights back up, I think. And that is your router interface, more or less, right? You can dive down deep into menus of submenus and submenus. However, you've just basically got your 5 main sections, your network map, your gaming center, and then under the gaming center, you have another menu with a submenu with a submenu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you go to internet, submenus. Oh, no submenus here, never mind. You can scroll down. Don't forget to scroll down. There's more information down there. Wireless is where you can enable or disable each channel and then how you want it configured, how you want it named, et cetera, et cetera. If you want a guest network, and do you want to put the guest network on 2.4, on 5, or on 6, or all 3? The guest network isolates anybody away from seeing any of your network resources. It's just like they have a straight connection to the internet. There's no way they could spread a virus to you or see any of your data or print to any of your printers. It isolates them, not only from you, but from each other if there are multiple guests. Then there's the IoT network. This is creating a dedicated wireless network to manage things like your thermostat, your burglar alarm, or cameras, your doorbell camera, your garage door opener, all of these things we call the Internet of Things. Maybe you have a washing machine or a dryer that also wants to connect to your Wi-Fi. So to keep it secure, put it on the guest network, or you can use this IoT network. I'm not quite sure what the difference is going to be. However, You don't want to put your Wi-Fi Internet of Things devices like your refrigerator, your appliances, as I mentioned, garage door opener, security camera, wireless doorbell. I'm trying to think what else is wireless. Those items, they don't need your network. They just need your internet. And you want to seclude them in case of any sort of a breach of data, not data security, but login security, especially if you bought some off-brand camera that was $10. Yeah, it's a perfectly fine camera for $10. And then you find out everybody on the internet's watching your camera because you don't have it locked down properly or someone broke into it. And then through breaking into it, if it's on your Wi-Fi with all of your computers, they could theoretically get access to your computers and your data, your NAS, all of it. So you want to isolate that kind of stuff just for common sense onto either a guest network or in this case, an IoT network, which is designed specifically for your Internet of Things, your home devices that want internet access, but they don't need access to your printer or to your computer. So don't put it on the same network as those things. It's just a good, secure way of thinking to avoid having a problem, being proactive rather than being reactive. I won't get too much into Home Shield because I think, let's see, under more features, they want to charge for this additional stuff. I think, is it ASUS, their routers? Their security stuff is free. But most, I think every manufacturer other than them, they only offer a 30-day free trial of the advanced controls, and that you're just going to get the basic controls. And personally, I don't use any of these. I don't have any reason to, but they're there if that's something you feel you might need. And under advanced, you got a ton of stuff here in each one of these. Also a submenu, right? So if we want to set up multiple routers across the house, we don't have to buy a specific mesh router like you do with Netgear. You can either buy a mesh router from TP-Link or a regular router that supports mesh and use it either way. I think there's a lesson in there for Netgear and why I no longer buy Netgear stuff. It's too limited. Netgear says, hey, you want to buy a mesh router? Buy a mesh router. You want to buy a regular home router? Buy a regular home router. Make up your mind. Whereas TP-Link, ASUS, everybody else, they go, you could use this either way. What do we care? Anyway, that's just my personal take on Netgear having no real good reason to offer a customer less value. Now, let me go to, let's go back to camera one. Guess I need to go full screen. No, not that way, this way. Okay. Telling you, the production side of things gets complicated. Let's take a look at the chat and see if you guys have any questions for me. Or if there's anything you want to know about the router. If I can answer it, I will. Let's see. Let's see what I'm missing here. David Graham says the last Windows update messed with his keyboard software, but he's fixed it. Yeah, I'm telling you, sometimes the Windows updates will have little nuances that might be, usually they don't, but when they do, it's usually because of a Windows update. But they're usually very, very minor. Luke Greenia says, I have too much eye candy to play with. What are you talking about? Mara's not even here. Let's see, lots of Windows updates coming on that Starship. Oh, it hasn't been turned on in a while. Rembrandt. Oh, right on. I thought that said remember. Now that I have my glasses on, I see it says Rembrandt. Welcome in. Sorry, I screwed up your name. Peter joining us from Amsterdam says it's 25 degrees Celsius there. And 3D everything, same thing, 25 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Sounds much cooler than 115. Ron S. with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Ron. Peter joining us from Amsterdam, right? With a €1 contribution. Thank you, Peter. Rembin says, I've been watching your channel for years. I just got a membership a couple of weeks ago. We chatted on Messenger before and made a great impact from all your videos. Well, thank you for supporting the channel. It's because of members like you that we're able to buy this and do this review. Now, whether or not this gets returned or we put it in use to give it a long-term review, We will use it personally or we will return it. I have not made up my mind yet. But with Amazon, you have 30 days to return for any reason whatsoever. And so we have that the same as anybody else. We bought it. Amazon doesn't know who we are. We're just another customer making another purchase. And if we return things, we're making another return. And if we keep it, we keep it. We'll see. What do you think? Should I keep it? Do a long term? We already know the other router. We already know this one's gone on a year and a half. And it's fantastic. I don't have any complaints about it. I don't need the RGB, and you can see this takes up less space horizontally, but vertically it's a little bit taller. But I don't really have any complaints on this. And this, theoretically, being a year and a half newer, might be a bit more powerful with the processor they're using. As far as inputs, I have the exact same inputs, the two 10 gig WAN or LAN connections along with the SFP. This has the exact same thing on the back, and this is 18 months old. Now, this was released before the Wi-Fi standard was ratified. It took them about 8 months after this was released, 8 to 10 months, before the committee, the Wi-Fi committee, ratified in Wi-Fi 7. But when TP-Link released this, they believed that that was going to be the last update. And they figured if they were wrong, they'll just do a firmware update on this, which there have been firmware updates. I don't know if they were related to that. I do have a Wi-Fi 7 laptop that's using, it's a Samsung Galaxy Book 3, and I believe it's Wi-Fi 7. And when I'm transferring my big video files over the wireless laptop to the wireless router in another room, and then there's a wire connected to my NAS, I'm moving the data at around 109 megabytes per second to 119. That's very close to what I get on a regular hardwired 1 gig connection, moving data in Studio A from the Office PC wired into the router, and that's wired into the NAS. That'll get about 120 megabytes per second. Megabytes. I think it's megabits. Anyway, if it were 2.5 gig, right, that this router supports 2.5 gig, this PC supports 2.5 gig. And if my NAS could support 2.5 gig, we could double that to around 250 megabits per second. Whichever one it is. Anyway, it doubles it. So the problem is the NAS at Studio A is limited at 1 gig. So that means no matter how fast the router is or how fast the laptop is or how fast strong the signal is, what channel it's on, my limitation, my bottleneck is potentially the NAS itself. That's why I say when you're getting to this level, you need everything up to that level to take advantage of it. This is backwards compatible, going all the way back to the original Wi-Fi in the late 90s. But what a waste of money, right? It's like there's no benefit to you having it if you're not going to utilize the capabilities and features because the hardware you have doesn't support it unless your plan is to get piece by piece and upgrade, and certainly absolutely do that. David Graham says, all I need now is a star projector. Yeah, sure, we can get one of those little boxes that you put on the floor and you plug it in and it puts little green dots all over the ceiling that move around. Yeah, game in the dark, I suppose. Let's see. Just catching up here with the chat room. Rip City Raider renews membership, now a member for 16 months. Thank you, Rip City Raider. He says, thanks, Carey and Mara. Right on. Mara says she wants to try a mesh at Studio C. One of the issues you may have with mesh is you have to use a particular manufacturer. So if Mara has the Asus ET12 mesh system, it's not going to work with TP-Link's mesh. But TP-Link does offer something called, I think it's One Mesh. And the idea of one mesh is that multiple manufacturers who support one mesh can now work together in a mesh. But you'd have to specifically locate that. It's like an open source mesh, not a licensed intellectual property that they want to, charge a fee for to other companies. Companies don't want to pay other companies. They don't want to pay licenses or royalties. So this idea, I want to say it was one mesh. And TP-Link said that a router would support one mesh eventually, like they would market it that way, saying, we will release a firmware update at an undisclosed time in the future that will enable one mesh. I should be able to pull up some information. One mesh. Let me go to my, come on, working with my mouse here. It's being uncool. Let's go to my window capture. So here is a TP-Link talking about one mesh, which, pardon my mouse here, it's jumping around. Flexibly create a whole home Wi-Fi. One mesh, destroying Wi-Fi dead zones via enhanced device compatibility, helps expand your network and make high-speed Wi-Fi throughout your home accessible. Just add specific devices to your one mesh ecosystem for broader wireless coverage and faster streaming. So TP-Link will have two different kinds of mesh on some routers. One will be easy mesh and one is one mesh. So this whole thing about the benefits is really just mesh, right? This is what mesh does. What's the difference between one mesh and easy mesh? One is a proprietary standard, one is an open source standard. A proprietary standard means you have to use that manufacturer owns that, and only that manufacturer's products support it. So therefore, connecting a TP-Link to an ASUS could be possible on a mesh network if one mesh is supported by both. But not all routers do. Now, this says one mesh is coming, this is a fascinating update, to all TP-Link product categories. Now, wouldn't it be great if ASUS and Netgear and who else is there? Wouldn't it be great if they all jumped on board with this and then they could all interconnect and talk to each other? You wouldn't have to buy their product. One mesh is a trademark for all one mesh products, while TP-Link mesh is a mesh technology from TP-Link. So if ASUS wanted to be compatible with TP-Link's mesh system, they'd have to pay TP-Link a royalty or work out they'd have some kind of permission to use their technology. And vice versa, if TP-Link wanted to use ASUS. So the idea with this universal standard is there's no cost. It adds value to the router, although a manufacturer may not want to do that. A manufacturer may want you to only buy their products and not their competitors' products, and are certainly not going to be able to support you in that configuration, except for the products you use that they make. So if you have a question setting up your one mesh from your TP-Link to your ASUS router, who do you call for support? Good luck, because generally they're going to say, well, that's a problem from the other guy. If you buy all of our equipment, then we're forced to have to help you. But if you're mixing and matching different manufacturers, you're supporting yourself, okay? You better know how to use Google, or you better be a good tech. So that's just true of all manufacturers. If you want to keep all of your networking equipment from the same manufacturer, then you only have one call for support, and they don't have any excuse to get you off the phone. But you don't have to. A lot of stuff, your Wi-Fi cards and routers can all be made by different manufacturers. That's what the Wi-Fi 6 and 7, those are standards that they can communicate. No one company owns that. That is a committee, Wi-Fi committee, that decides what those standards are. And then the manufacturers have representatives sitting on a voting board to make recommendations. And then they all this is why it takes forever. It's all done by committee. Every company thinks their way is the best way. And then they somehow find a way to a compromise in the middle. And that's what becomes the standard. That's why TP-Link was able to release this Wi-Fi 7 router before the Wi-Fi 7 standard was finally finalized. It just took a really long time for the committee to get to that. I'm excited for One Mesh. I think it's great. Now, if we look at, let's go back to the router again. Oh, it wants to reboot. Let's let it reboot. No, you know what? Hold on. Let me just check something real quick. Then I'll let it reboot. We go to advanced under, so you see there's easy mesh, but I don't see One Mesh. But it did say it was coming to all routers. So I believe easy mesh is TP-Link's mesh. And One Mesh is the open source mesh, and it'll offer both. When the firmware gets updated, you'll see the option right in this area. All right, now let's close this and reboot. We'll let it do whatever the updates are it wants to do. And while it does that, we're going to come back over here to camera one. And once again, take a look at any questions you might have here in the chat. Peter VZ saying hello. There's Elijah 52 Dickens saying hello. Ikaranus says his router is under the staircase. Yeah, see, that's a lot of people will hide their routers. They're unsightly. This is a router you could display formally as a piece of artwork. Mara says, I'm thinking to replace the ET12 routers with 2 of these GE800s, maybe 3 of them. The 2.5 gigabit per second is appealing. I just want better backhaul. To which Luke Greenia responds, English, Mara. Speak English. I have to tell her that all the time. She's not from this planet, so sometimes she defaults back to her alien planet language, and I play along with it because I don't want the supreme leader to know that I'm on to him, because then, you know, there could be anal probing, and I don't want that to happen again. Anyway, yeah, when you mess around with aliens, you don't want to mess with them. So I just look the other way. All right, where was I? Here. Charles Purdy contributed super chat of $5. Right on. Thank you, Charles. Once again, thank you to Matthew Burden for his super chat contribution. Thank you to David Graham and Trevor Dunn for their membership renewals. Thank you, Harry Thor. Thank you to Ron S. and Peter VZ for your super chat contributions. Rip City Raider, thank you for renewing your membership. Charles Purdy and Peter VZ, thank you for your super chats. Okay, now, glasses. I need my glasses to find my glasses. Luke Greenia says he's got the Netgear Nighthawk Carey recommended, and it's been solid and reliable. We were using the Netgear Nighthawk here in, well, we have one at Studio A, that's the XR700, and then we have the 12 stream AX, is it the AX12? I forget what they called it. And we had that the first 2 years or so. And then we switched out to an ASUS router with 8 1 gig ports on the back, I think. And then we went to, maybe we went to this. Maybe there was one in the middle. We did try a couple of those square routers with the 8 antennas, TP-Links. If you go back and look at the router reviews, we did cycle through those for test runs and ended up not sticking with them. They're very large and the performance wasn't all that good. But this I've been very happy with. I'm just hearing a fan. It's coming from over here. I've never heard this get that loud. It must be doing one heck of an update. All right, the fan quieted down. Does that mean it booted back to the desktop? It's that way. Let's check for updates anyway. I mean, might as well. And then while that is running, so I have to try this again. Well, that is running. Let's go back over to camera 1. Thank you to Mark Gaines, who joins us from Northern Ireland, just contributed £10 via Super Chat. Have you tried the Google Gemini AI, Carey? No, I have not. I don't even know what that is. I'm trying to stay on top of this technology, and it's moving so quick. It's very difficult to stay on top of all of it. However, here's my question for you. Let me just let me grab another drink. Let's see. I think it's time for some Clearly Canadian. Do you, the viewers, find these wireless or wired router reviews useful, even though I cannot, nor can any other reviewer, provide you any other information other than what the manufacturer has already said on the box and on their website? Like, we already know what the range is. We already know what the maximum performance is. What we don't know is what range and performance are you going to get? Nobody can tell you. So my question to you is, should we continue to do these router reviews, or are they pointless? Because if you enjoy them, if you find some entertainment value, or if there's some aspect of it I'm not getting that a reviewer can bring to your attention, because everything I've told you and everything I've shown you is advertised from the manufacturer, including the owner's manual, if you want to read that and see all the capabilities of the router in great detail. I mean, what difference does it make what the interface looks like? How often are you going to get in there, number one? And number two, how you access the features, it is what it is. Like, I don't know that I would need to see a review of a router just to look at the interface. And there are often pictures of it anyway, once again, on the PDF or documentation from the manufacturer. So, yeah. Not to mention, updates can add more features, which a review would likely not be updated to include a firmware update that now, let's say, OneMesh has added. Do you want to see router reviews? Because I'll do them, but I'm just not quite sure why. Is there a part of this I'm missing? Am I not getting something? Douglas says he mainly wants to see the interface. Mark Gaines says absolutely continue doing router reviews. Okay, so why? Help me understand what the goal. I want to make if I'm going to do a router review, I need to understand what it is you're looking to see or hear that you think is not already disclosed by the manufacturer. Is it just that I'm telling it to you so you don't have to go read it? Or is it the perspective and reference of having it, to get a better idea of size? Because a lot of times in photos, especially if you buy in jewelry, that diamond looks amazing, and then you order it, you get it in the mail, and it's like, there's supposed to be a diamond in here. Where's my magnifying glass? Somebody says, hey, nice diamond. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know they made them that small. Yeah, and the picture, it was this big. So I understand, the reference point of it. I'm just trying to figure out, what is it I'm reviewing? What is it you want to see in the review that isn't already available from the manufacturer, or it is available, but you just want to hear it from me? You want me to read it to you? It's okay if that's what you want. Just tell me. Help me understand. Help me help you. Jason H88 says, please keep doing these reviews. I always learn something new when you do reviews. Okay, well, I mean, just like how I showed the gateway, that's how you can access your router. I get that. There's little tips in there. Okay, fair enough. Peter says he changes his router only every 10 years, but coincidentally, he just bought a Wi-Fi 6 router, and he learned something from it. But again, I don't change my routers that often, not even for customers. Agreed. I mean, if it's meeting your needs, why would you? Jason H88 says, I like the part of learning the interface. Each company is different. Yeah, I suppose walking through the interface, but with the options all by default are usually the way most people are going to keep them, with an exception of a specialty, like if you wanted parental controls or you wanted to optimize for gaming, right? In which case you would go into those sections and configure it for you. But otherwise, just clicking next through the setup, it'll default to all of the optimized settings in general. So you don't have to go into all those features. But if you like to see it, you like to see it. I get it. I appreciate the feedback. David Graham says, you know, don't review routers every day, but when there's new tech advances, any review from you is fun. Oh, thank you, David. Trevor Dunn says, I like seeing the router reviews. It'd be nice to know what ISP it works with. So there is no ISP compatibility. There's no such thing. The only thing that has to be compatible with your ISP is your modem. And that's between you and your ISP, right? So if you're with Starlink, you have a Starlink modem. If you have cable, you have a cable modem. If you have fiber, you have a fiber modem. If you have DSL or a T1 line, you're going over copper phone lines, basically. So the modem is the bridge that connects you to the internet from your ISP. And your ISP dictates that. What you connect to the modem is up to you. It's like saying, I wonder if this computer will connect to my router. All computers will connect to all routers if they have the proper Ethernet, you know, if it's a modern computer. If it's a computer from 60 years ago, it's a different story. But there is no such thing as compatibility. You plug any router you want into any modem you want, period. But the modem that has to be approved by or compatible with your internet service provider. Okay, so just so you know. I feel like I need that little, the more you know, star going across the screen from the 80s. Bajan Guy says, does anyone still have dial-up? Sure. Here's the dial-up right here. Let's just put this right next to this modern tech. Here we go. Here's the future, according to 1953. So what's hilarious, this is a real landline. Many of you will recognize it. Many of us had these. Millennials don't know what this is for. Or younger kids, I should. Millennials are now adults, so I have to go Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They don't know what this is. It's hilarious. You can search on YouTube for, you know, I don't know, millennial or something, Gen Y, learning, trying to think what the search is. Kids trying to use an old phone, and just let the hilarity ensue. But what's fun is they sell this little adapter on Amazon, among other places, and it's called cell phone to jack or cell to jack. Little USB adapter here. And this is just going to provide power. So we need to plug in something here that can give us power. And that powers this is basically a Bluetooth device. And then you're going to plug your landline phone right here. Okay? And you've got the instructions right on the unit. You don't even have to, right? There's an output of 5 volts out. So if you needed this in line with some other device. But anyway, we step around here. All we need is power. So I can literally plug it into my USB power right on my power strip, right over here at the edge of the desk, probably just off camera. Okay, so now our little box has a blue light. And we take our landline and we plug it into this little box. which I'm trying to do on camera. This way. All right, so the landline is going to plug in. We configure this to Bluetooth on our phones. So if I turn on my phone and say I want to connect my Bluetooth, just like you would connect to the Bluetooth in your car. And we look in our list of available, after you've paired this, which I've done previously, we look for the cell to jack option. And then it should just connect to it. Now, if I can get Mara to call my phone, see if she's watching. What you're going to hear, I'll put the phone in the other room. We'll just put it over here. You just have to be within 30 feet for Bluetooth range. And Ghostbusters, what do you want? The mortuary? They're dying to get in here. You want Bob's mortuary? You stab him, we slab him? You got the wrong number, honey. Thank you. Bye. And I'll tell you what, that's the last thing I've got to say about it. Can't slam a cell phone. There's a satisfaction to having one of them dial-up phones. But I imagine you were probably talking about dial-up internet, not a dial-up phone. So forget all that. Sorry, went off on a tangent. Maybe Mara can add the cell to jack link to the show notes. Don't I have the best little fun little gadgets? They're like $40. Why not? Here's what's good about having that. One, sometimes I'm looking for my phone. I don't know where it is. Two, you might have somebody older who cannot get up and get to the phone. Since a landline mostly sits where you leave it, you always know where the phone is. And this could be very, very useful for people under certain circumstances, including not wanting to walk to the other room to get your phone. If your landline, you have it just sitting here anyway. I'm thinking of even getting a payphone, a refurbished payphone. You could buy them on eBay, and then we can take caller calls through a Google line, through that Bluetooth landline into the payphone. I think that would be so cool. And I want to get just a classic 80s or 90s standard everyday payphone. They're about $200. I want it to work. I want the coin door. I want all of it. And, use it as decoration. But I got bigger fish to fry right now. But that little device enables me to not only have it as a functional piece of history and art, but as a real working phone. And you can dial out of it just the same, by the way. I could spin that dial around and call Mara right back. When I pick it up, I do get a dial tone. It is the coolest thing. All right, anyway, let me get back over to the chat. We were talking about routers. Douglas said, we like to hear you talk and geek out on us. Well, nobody's stopping that from happening. Mark Gain says, I like watching the setup part of setting up the router and then the workarounds when things don't go as expected. That's fair, but a lot of the times it's my fault that I set something up wrong. And I suppose there's genuine value, whether it's a configuration issue that's the fault of the user or the fault of the configuration, the setup of the router. So that's fair enough, regardless of where the fault is or who's to blame. There's still something that you could experience. And if I do, how do I resolve that? That's a good point you make. I appreciate that. Jet says, Carey, your Wi-Fi reviews are amazing. The info you give is more in depth than those tech enthusiasts on YouTube. Also, I love seeing new routers and UI features. Okay, well, I appreciate the feedback. One other thing to keep in mind. This is $550. If I did this twice a month, my cost just to get this is $1,100 or whatever router we buy. So the only problem I have is what do I do with the routers when I'm done with the review? And where does the money come from to pay for them unless Mara has reached out to these manufacturers and mostly our channel isn't big enough to get any attention. Or they want full control. They want a commercial and I don't want to do that. So rather than go through all of the bureaucracies, we just go and buy it. But for us to go and buy it, we need your support. So we're more than happy to make the content, the tech-related content that you want to see. We just have to be able to acquire it, at least temporarily. Now, our friend Patrick over at Serve the Home recently had a baby. So I've been staying away. I don't want to be a problem or a pest. He's got bigger problems, right? Or not problems. He's got higher priorities in his life. What do you think of having kids, Carey? Whoops. Anyway, no, he's super happy. And and I'm so happy for him that he's happy. And I don't want to pester him. But he has some equipment that he's offered us for review. And we've already reviewed almost all of it. And then I told him I'd give it back to him. Secretly, I don't think he wants it back. It's all just taking up space and he's not allowed to sell it. But I am in the same position. Where do you put it? So that's the other downside is, unless we return the router and get our money back, then there's just the trouble of returning it, which is just putting it back in the box and, in the case of Amazon, taking it to UPS. And then the question is, how many times can we do that before Amazon says, looks like you're buying stuff, making videos and returning it? Now, if the review's put on Amazon, they'll probably be okay with it. I don't buy enough or return enough to worry about that happening. But if that became a regular activity, I'm sure they would catch on and put a stop to it. And then I'd be in real trouble. So I've got to solve all of these issues. And look, whether it's a high-end Wi-Fi router or if it's a lower-end Wi-Fi router, it still may be worth reviewing, even if, as I mentioned the other day, buying today's latest technology is expensive and sometimes hard to get. If you want to buy technology from 10 years ago, it's probably already obsolete and a waste of your money. But if you buy last year's technology, this was the same price as this. Now this is I've seen this about half price on sale, like $370, and I paid $599 for it a year and a half ago. So if you just wait a year and buy the technology that just came out last year, I think that's your bargain point right there for processors, motherboards, everything. Don't be the first, be the next. And you'll save money. You won't have any problem acquiring it. And everybody reacts to, oh, it's new, and they all want it all at the same time. A movie, Deadpool opens up, and everybody wants to rush to the theater and be the first to watch it. They're going to pay full ticket price. They're going to be in a crowded theater, which may be good or bad, depending on how you feel about crowded theaters. And then you get to be first. If you wait a few months, it'll be available on streaming and might be included in your streaming service at no additional cost. But going out to the movies to be first, you're going to wait in line. You may have to pre-order your tickets, and you're likely going to spend between tickets and some concessions like a drink and some popcorn, somewhere around $80 in US dollars for two people to see that movie at the theater. If you can even get a seat, there won't be discounted tickets. That's the price of being first. And if the movie turns out to be a dog, well, you might be remorseful at that $80 you spent and reserving your day to schedule to go see that movie. But if you wait till the next week and you hear what people are saying about it, then you have a better idea if this is a generally good movie or bad movie. And when you go, it won't be as crowded. And they probably have matinees where the ticket price is cheaper. So next is always best in my opinion. I don't want to be last. I don't want old, obsolete stuff. And if you want to be first, expect to pay the most, wait in line to get it, and figure it out and decide if it's good or not, and then work through the problems. In the case of hardware technology, manufacturers will do updates to address any issues. And then within about a year, those issues will resolve. So the person who buys it a year later didn't wait in the line, may not pay that high price, doesn't have to worry about, they're always sold out. and doesn't have to suffer through all those growing pains of that first year. So that's where I'm at. Now, speaking of that, you know, I love the Minis Forum mini PCs. I think they're a great manufacturer, and they're not just putting a label on a box. They are thinking outside the box, creating their own unique designs, and the quality. And again, they don't pay me. I'm just telling you, as a working technician, whether it's Minis Forum or Codlix, which is a sub-brand of Minis Forum, it's a solid, good working machine and a great price. But Minis Forum gets units back from time to time. Doesn't meet a customer's expectation. Maybe it gets damaged in shipping. We don't know why they're getting it back. And Minis Forum runs it through their refurbishment program to determine, you know, is this thing just completely broken? Or is this just a wire that has to be moved? Or is it just a customer didn't like it? Once a customer returns it, it cannot be sold as new. And even if they sold it as new, why would you buy it when you could buy a new one, right? So they're incentivized to lower the price on these returned units. Again, we don't know why they're returned, but they go through a secondary quality control. So they're actually checked more thoroughly than a brand new one, because a brand new one only goes through quality control once. If it gets returned for any reason, it has to go through quality control a second time to determine if it can be resold. And if so, why would you buy it for the same price? Logically, you'd buy the new one, so they reduce the price. Refurbished units are extremely limited in supply, and they go quickly. But right now, Minis Forum has some units for sale. And I've got a link in the chat room here, if I can, or not in the chat room, in the video notes. I'm trying to find the link. Hold on a second. All the way here, there's Call to Jack. Mara's added that. Okay, and just below that is the Minis Forum link to their refurbished products. So today it is July 27th, 2024. So if you're watching this video months or years ahead from now, these have all been sold by then. These are going to sell quickly. So let me put that link here and then share with you screen. Take a look at the products available that have been refurbished. And a lot of times refurbishing isn't a repair. A lot of times it's just customer returns something. We don't know why. Maybe their spouse got mad at them for buying it. Maybe it didn't meet their needs. Maybe it had a problem. But most of the time, it's just returned for end user problems, not computer problems. So they have to clean it up, reinstall the operating system, and run it through another quality control check. And I want you to look at the prices. This starts at $279. This is a $680 computer. It's less than half price. Well, that's what they start at, okay? So if you want to see what's available, you click on it, and you'll see how many they've got here. So this is the only one they have here, 32 gigs and 512. It's the NAD9. I love the NAD9. They don't tell you how many there are, though. So I guess until they're sold out. So this one is 352. So whatever it said at 279 must have already sold out. This stuff does go quickly, and you can use PayPal to pay for it. Let's go back. Starts at $199. Some of these are quite powerful. The the 790 Pro, that's a pretty powerful little box. $436, which is about half price. That's well stacked with 30, well, take that back. At $436, it's 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and all these products have a 12-month warranty, so you don't have to worry about it wasn't refurbished properly. And then this is an AMD Ryzen 9 7940HS, which at the time of release was the flagship processor from AMD, flagship mobile processor. Look at how many they have in stock right now. I promise you, in a couple of weeks, this is all going to be sold out. So I'm telling you, in this case, you want to be first, okay? Because by the time you get there, if you're next, you're going to have less selection to choose from or no selection to choose from. And then to see what options are available, select the unit you're interested in, and it'll tell you, it'll have lines crossed out. This appears to be completely sold out. So we've already missed out on the HX99G. Right there, it says sold out. You'd think they'd have that in bigger writing. Okay, so we're already not first. Someone got here before us. So this is very time sensitive, okay? Just so you know, if you're watching this later, this thing's pretty neat. We have not reviewed this, but this is designed to be like on a conference room table or on a desk where the camera, you know, you can use for Zoom. And guess what? It's sold out. Never mind. I wish they removed the sold out items here, because now it tells you, well, you know, you've already missed out. Here's the NPB7. That's the one that has the lid that just unclicks. 429 with 32 gigs of RAM and a 512 storage. And again, if you want to look at the processor, just click the last picture here. You'll see that's an Intel Core i7 13700H. That is a fast, powerful processor. 429, pretty good price, 429. Let me tell you something. You go on Amazon and you price a 13700 processor. Let's just do that right now. Just the processor, a desktop processor, not a mobile one. Let's go to Amazon. Let's type in 13700. Remember, we've got to have the graphics card in it. We can't do the F. Just the processor, the desktop version of that processor and that computer that has a case of motherboard, storage, cooler, RAM, operating system, power supply for $429 refurbished. Or you could build it yourself, and you're going to start with this one part at $329. Then you're going to need to buy a motherboard, RAM, storage, case, power supply, and install and pay for an operating system. $429 sounds pretty good right now, doesn't it? And you don't have to do any work or worry about any of the individual parts being bad or having individual warranties. Everything's warranted under Minis Forum. So I just want you to think about that. And if you're in the market and you're looking for a deal, there's your deal, man. Bring any of the deals. We're just about ready to end today's broadcast, so I'll take any final questions, comments, whatever you guys have to say. Peter says maybe you can rent hardware. As far as I know, that's not possible. I'm not aware. If you know of something in the United States or in Arizona where I can do that, please let me know. Waystein says, yeah, Carey, that's why I have 3 different Minis Forum mini PCs already. Well, you might be getting a 4th if some of those deals are just too good to turn away. Lou Greenia had the Ace Magic CK10 that we sent to him. And he said it died on him, just out of the blue. And the problem is, if your mini PC, and like in Luke's case, he left it on, which is fine. But when he woke up in the morning, it wasn't on anymore. Or when he turns it on, it doesn't do anything. It gets, I think it gets power, but it never does the initialization, never does the post. And Luke was talking about sending it back to me for repair. And I said, yeah, it may not be repairable. If it's under warranty, then it would go back to wherever Ace Magic would instruct you to send it. Problems like that, and let's assume at this point there's no warranty on it. Problems like that most often occur because the power brick went bad. It could be a very inexpensive fix to go on Amazon or eBay, find an equivalent power brick for that, and swap it out. Now, if it doesn't fix it, I suppose you could return the product to Amazon if it's a purchase from Amazon. The next thing that can cause that, the next likely thing, would be the RAM. So if you open it up and it's got 2 RAM modules, take one of the modules out while the computer's unplugged. And then after you remove the RAM module, plug it back in and see if that works. If it doesn't, unplug it again. Take out the remaining RAM module and reinsert the one you took out previously. Plug it back in, see if that turns it on. If it doesn't, If it's not the power brick and it's not the RAM, it's probably the motherboard. Or finally, one last thing is anything you've plugged into the USB ports. So if you've got an external drive plugged in, I've seen a lot of people that won't throw away old hardware. So they have some old USB connected hard drive that runs at USB 2 speeds. And whenever they try and turn the computer on or reboot it, it won't boot. And I can't tell you the number of times people have called and said, I need you to come out. And I ask them, is there something plugged into the USB ports? Yes. Unplug everything, printer, everything, including the keyboard and mouse. Take it all out. Because if any of those devices are bad or incompatible because they're so old and you won't let them go, that's causing your new hardware to have a compatibility issue. Or if the USB dongle on my keyboard goes bad, it may prevent the system from initializing that, and then it prevents the system from moving on. It gets stuck there. So unplug everything except for power and video. That's the two things, the bare minimum. See if it turns on. If so, you've made progress. You're on your way to fixing it. Or, having it running again and understanding what the cause was. Beyond the RAM, beyond the power brick, and beyond any USB device preventing your system from starting, it's a motherboard issue, and it will likely cost more to repair it, if it's even possible, than to just put all that money and time into a brand new unit that's more powerful, in warranty. And, one of the reasons Luke has that is for this long-term testing. Because if I'm not using it every day, then I'm not experiencing the failure. And the question is, that's one failure. Out of the units we've sent out, one from Ace Magic. We haven't heard of any others. So just keep that in mind. We try and do long-term reviews with viewers who are regular in the chat room, members of the channel that we know will come back and talk to us and let us know if they have any experience that's negative or positive they want to share with us about the device, so that we can decide if that manufacturer is somebody we should continue to work with. If everybody we sent one to all experiences failures, we're not going to work with that manufacturer anymore. But to have a failure it's okay. It's part of the deal. But we don't know if it's user caused, like plugging an old USB drive in. And I'm sure Luke will check that out. Luke says the RAM on the unit is built on the board. Is it? I thought it was removable. But on some of the mini PCs, it's soldered in, and I can't remember. And the cheapest power brick is about $40. I don't think of getting one from Amazon. Oh, I didn't think of getting one from Amazon and sending it back if it didn't work. Yeah, that'd be the first place I'd try. And soldered on RAM very rarely ever goes bad. It's faster and way more reliable than socketable RAM. The downside is you can't upgrade it, but the upside is as long as you got what you need. My Galaxy Book 3 and the Dell XPS have soldered on RAM. That's just how they do it these days. So I just buy it with the maximum, which at the time I think was only 32 gigs. And you can add NVMe drives, but you cannot change the RAM. And in that way, the RAM is more reliable, faster, and of course, it's cheaper to do it that way because they can make the laptop thinner and they don't have to buy the sockets. It's much, much better from a reliability technical standpoint. And it's the way of things. You're going to have built-in RAM in your tablet and your phone. When you buy your cell phone, a modern cell phone, and put it over there, you have an option of how much RAM you want. You cannot upgrade the RAM. You might be able to add a SIM card, maybe, or a little micro SD trans flash card, maybe on some phones. But mostly, you buy the one that has the RAM you want. You cannot upgrade the RAM. You'd have to just replace the phone. They're able to make the phone thinner. The RAM is faster, and the RAM is less likely to fail. That is the future, except for enthusiasts, which are not, unfortunately for the enthusiast, they do not make up a very big market share of buyers. But there's enough out there that there should be products continuing to come out with socketable RAM for some time. But the more portable and the thinner and lower power and faster speed, you want that RAM soldered down. That's why they're doing it. All right. Peter said, I know someone who just had a Z790 gigabyte board with an RTX 4090 and DDR5. He immediately had problems with the BIOS. So the BIOS did not recognize the video card until the BIOS update. Yep. Douglas Purcell said he's got the most powerful AWOW mini PC that I've ever seen. Actually, the only one ever reviewed. Yeah, we like to do unique things here. We appreciate the update, Douglas. Douglas got that as a gift from our friend Peter Laycock. Buster paid so this complete stranger that he's never met, who was in need of a PC, could have something better than the Veterans Giveaway, and got the AWOW mini PC, all thanks to our friend and generosity of Peter Laycock. How incredible is this community? And then I asked Douglas if you wouldn't mind, let us know what it's like using it, because I've never heard of AWOW. Is it a good brand? Do you like it? Does it do anything you don't like? Is it too loud? Doesn't have enough ports? Not reliable? Is it crashing? And all we're hearing from Douglas is it's fantastic. It's like every time he tells us he's more enthusiastic and happier with it than the time before. That's great, just to get the feedback, that's all. It's nice to hear back from people who actually rely on this stuff day after day, rather than a reviewer who put it on a desk for 2 hours and came up with, I like it, I don't like it, whatever. It's very different to live with it than to just play with it for 2 hours. So appreciate all the feedback. Mara says, I'm enthusiastically excited for more of everything. Trevor Dunn said, I've seen some of the mini PCs where the CMOS battery went dead and it won't boot. Most of the time it was a hard drive died. Some of them seem to overheat. Well, if it overheats, it should still turn back on when it's cooled off. It only takes a couple minutes to cool it off. If a hard drive dies, it should still post and just not boot, but it should give you an error message, or you should be able to go into the BIOS. If it's, what else did he say? A battery. Usually that only matters if you lose power. The only time the battery kicks in is if the machine's unplugged, like even virtually unplugged, like whatever it's plugged into lost power and you had to go reset a breaker. That's the same as unplugging it. The battery then kicks in, but as long as the machine is powered on or powered off but plugged in, that battery doesn't get used. So the battery, if it's, can I explain this? If you put a machine on a shelf, you don't plug it in, you just put it away for later, and later becomes a year, 2 years. You take it off the shelf, you plug it in, you're probably going to have a dead CMOS battery, because for a year or 2 years, that's the only battery that's been able to keep the date and time. And you've drained that battery prematurely by leaving it unplugged. If you plug the computer in and leave it off, then the batteries are irrelevant. But yes, a dead battery on some computers can cause those computers to not boot up. And I've demonstrated that here on this channel. We have a video showing the computer not working, me changing the battery, and the computer. In fact, I think we have 3 videos in the past of me doing that. Douglas said he's had the AWOW Mini for almost a year. Has it been that long? Holy moly. Lou Greeny says, my next move was to remove the NVMe drive and install it into the Musitex. I wouldn't do that, because then if there's something wrong with it and it damages the Musitex, you've just ruined 2 computers. I would get a small NVMe USB dock, plug it into that, and then through USB into the Musitex. That's how I would test it. David Graham says, my Ovis Lite Direct mini PC is an i5-8279U with 16 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig M.2 NVMe drive with 4K HDMI. And we sent that to David to do a long-term review. He says it's still going strong. Even after 3 power outages, it still just boots and works perfectly. How long have you had that Ace Magician CK10, Luke? Is it over a year? I mean, with proper care, I can't imagine these things not lasting at least 6 to 8 years. But there's a lot of conditions, how humid your environment is. If it's something that you're in a very dusty environment, and you're not properly maintaining it, that's going to change things. And then there's things you can't control, like power outages and power spikes from storms, in which case it's best to shut it off and completely unplug it if there's a storm. Because if it's plugged in and off, it can still get spiked. Usually it's the power supply that takes the hit. But if it goes through the power supply and into the machine, it basically electrocutes it. And you're done. Unless you're under warranty, you're done. But it's always a good measure to just change the power brick. We showed that with the Synology fix where Mitch had just a blue light. So he was getting power to the Synology, but it wouldn't power on. Just flashing blue light. And he calls or reaches out to Synology support and they say, that means you need to buy a new NAS. They're just trying to sell you a NAS. I'm not saying they caused the problem, but they're not going to help solve it. That's a good reason. You've already bought a Synology, so you're already a customer. And it's easy to sell somebody something that's already bought your product before versus finding a new customer. Reselling to an existing customer is much easier. So Mitch is saying, which one should I buy? And I said, I don't think you need to replace it. Why don't you bring it over here? We'll make a video. And we did. And you'll find that here on the channel where we went on Amazon. We bought a $30 power brick. It boots up. It works fine. And he's using it to this day. While he's in Australia, he has access to his NAS, so he can watch his movies or listen to his music on his phone and not have to pay the hotel or worry about, the only channel on TV being the cheese making factory. That's a National Lampoon Vacation joke. Sometimes it's true. But yeah, they wanted him to spend $500-600 on a new NAS. We spent $30 on a new power brick. He's back up in business. Lou Grania said he's had the CK10 for over a year. Okay, it's been a year. He says, I'll get a power brick and I'll update you. Awesome. I appreciate it. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I want to thank all of the members here for your membership enabling us to pay for this. We do try to reach out to these companies and ask them to send us one. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. And sometimes when they do, they have demands. So when we buy it, it's on our timeline. It's what we want to say about it. We don't have to report back to them. If they like what we've done, maybe they'll be more incentivized to reconsider sending us a unit in the future. And if they don't like what we've done, well, regardless, it doesn't prevent us from moving forward. It's just a matter of funding it all. And you guys make that possible. So thank you so much for that. I think that we'll use this a little bit and see how it performs overall. And I've got 30 days to decide if I want to send it back. It's a large piece of budget, quite frankly. You can do the math. If the memberships are $9.99 and YouTube takes 30% of that, that means I'm getting $7. And if this is $550, how many $7 contributions do I need just to cover this? Anyway, you could do the math on that. But anyway, I'll say anyway one more time so you can take another shot every time I say anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Mara, of course, for all the administrative work she does in the background, keeping us moving forward. We've done a video every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We've done a live video every single day this week, and it wouldn't be possible without our members. I hope people watching for free also become members so we can expand and get bigger. Otherwise, we'll just keep doing what we can do as long as we can do it. And we wouldn't be doing it without you. It's not just they're not just word. I'm truly telling you, you guys decide if this channel lives or dies. YouTube no longer provides us with a means to continue like they used to do a couple of years ago. All right, and with that, where's my chat room? One more time, I should probably check the phone. Hold on a second. Grab my phone over here and I'll just see if there was any messages I've missed. I hate when I miss a contribution or a message that I only see after I've said goodbye. So I'd like to address it right now if there's anything to address. $10, see? From Dan Nilsson, sent $10 via PayPal. Thank you, Dan. Of course, the $25 via PayPal from our friend Luke Greenia. And a super shout out, as always, to our friend Buster, Peter Laycock. Sent a very generous Amazon gift card that can help fund the next Amazon purchase. What are we reviewing next? Tell us what you want to see. And bear in mind, we have to figure out a way to afford it. All right, so given those parameters, what would you like me to review? What tech item? Give me a tech gadget, a mini PC, anything related to computers or tech. Let me know in the comments below. And if we can make that happen, we absolutely will. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you to all my members. Thank you to our friends at Acronis, our friends at RoboForm, and our friends at VIP CDK Deals for offering you a 30% discount if you want to buy their products. That's all year. So no pressure, not like the refurbished sale at Minis Forum. This is take your time and don't wait too long, but download the trial. They have a free, fully functioning trial of RoboForm and Acronis. Even Windows and Office all have free trials. Decide if you really like it. And if you do, use that 30% discount code to save you some money. So they support us. I hope if you need a password manager, backup software, or a license key for Windows or Office, you'll support them back so they can continue supporting us. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all again next time with this router in place. From after the show, the old router's coming out, this router's going in, and we'll see how it performs in real life for the rest of our time here at Studio B. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. And until next time, bye for now.